Welcome to Uptown Rumble, heavy music in the Bronx. My name is Steven Payne, director of the Bronx County Historical Society. Today is March 3rd, 2025, and we're here for an oral history about legendary Bronx band Warcraft. Um,
Yeah.
Real big in the 90s scene,
Mhm.
and can't wait to hear this history. So why don't both of you, we got two members here today with us. Why don't both of you just introduce yourselves real quickly, your name and your role in Warcraft? Ish, why don't you start first?
My name is Ish Marquez, and I was the singer in Warcraft.
Okay, Gerson, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gerson Ortiz, and I was the second drummer in Warcraft.
Okay, great. Ish. Now, why don't you start off by just talking a little bit about your family history and background, whatever you might know about how your family ended up in the Bronx. We'll spend some time with each of your early childhood and all before we get to Warcraft itself. But yeah, start with your family, Ish.
Let's see, my mother and father are from Puerto Rico. My father got to New York and he lived on Southern Boulevard in the Bronx at the age of 10. So he got to see New York throughout the 50s and 60s. And my mother came to New York to live in the Bronx with her sister, my Aunt Lucy, uh, in the late 60s. And they met and they had me. Yeah, that's
Do
how it went down.
do you know how your parents met? Did they ever tell you that story?
Yeah, they did. They did. It was where they were working, and my father said that the Platters, the song "The Great Pretender" was blaring over the radio, and that's when he met her, when he saw her. And
Wow.
yeah, he told me that, and that stuck with me. Yeah, that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when they got together, where did they first live?
Oh, by Freeman, over by Simpson, yeah, Southern Boulevard.
Okay, okay. So close to where is that where your is that close to where your mom grew up too? I know you said your dad grew up on Southern Boulevard. Where'd your mom grow up?
Oh, my mom was
Or
right
came
around the corner. Yeah,
I
like on
see.
Freeman with her sister. My father was on Simpson, just one train stop away.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. So is that the neighborhood where you were born?
yeah, yeah. I was born
Okay.
at the old Lincoln Hospital.
Ah, I see, I see, I see, I see.
Old one.
I
Yeah.
see. Yeah, the old one. That's right. And what are some of your earliest memories around the neighborhood?
The music blaring and yeah, my father with his vinyls, playing his music. He loved listening to Mexican music, so and Cuban music, and I don't know why he never heard. He never bought Fania records. You
Interesting.
know, I think because it was on every corner store,
Yeah,
probably and everywhere. So yeah. So that introduced to me, that whole scene, the '70s. When the salsa music was hitting hard, merengue, yeah, that got me
absolutely.
excited as a kid, you know, to to figure it out, Yeah.
Absolutely. Was your mom into music too?
Not really. She did. She had her favorite singer was Javier Solis.
Okay, sure.
You know that the Mexican singer.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I've heard of him before. So yeah, that's cool. Um, so so do you would either of your parents go to like any like live performances or bring you to concerts, things like
No,
that?
it was all parties.
All
My
parties.
uncles and the people dancing around me, and it was parties so that they can dance and blast the music, and you know,
Sure. And with the parties you went to, were there like some of the old like social clubs that were still around at the time? Or was it just other people's apartments? Where were the parties?
yeah, people's apartments. My aunt's apartment.
Okay,
Usually, it was at my aunt's apartment. Yeah, my family didn't really. They stuck to themselves. My
sure.
dad was always home at 6 p.m. He was there.
I see. I
Give
see.
me the daily news so he can get. He had bought the daily news and he always had it with him so that he can give it to me when he got home at 6 or 7. Yeah, 6 p.m.
I see. And did your other like extended family members, aunts, uncles, did they all live close to you too?
No, everyone was in Union City.
Oh, okay, okay, I see.
Yeah, because we're Puerto Rican, but um, my aunt married into a big Cuban family. So
I see. I
my older
see.
brother David is the one that introduced me to rock music. He had bought what was it, Iron Maiden, Killers. He
Sure.
called it, yeah, and he bought it when it came out, and I was a child. So, the cover blew my mind, and then he bought Highway to Hell, AC/DC, and that cover blew my mind. The album cover and the songs and stuff.
Do
Yeah.
you
So
know? Oh, go
thanks to
ahead.
my cousin, yeah, David Pino, who
Do you,
works. Like,
I was gonna, do you know how your older brother was introduced to those albums?
my cousin David, my
Oh,
cousin.
okay, with your cousin David. Okay, okay, my bad. Yeah. I see. Do you know how he was introduced to them?
I'm sure his high school, his junior high school. Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, I see. I see. And what was he in Union City at the
Yeah,
time or
he was
okay.
in New York City at the time, and then by the time the club scene happened, he got himself a perm and a small pencil mustache and baggy clothes, and he gave me his collection of AC/DC records.
Wow.
I couldn't even say thank you. I was so shocked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that got me into wanting to learn. Bon Scott. Bon
sure.
Scott. Yeah, that's what got me into wanting to make that kind of music. Even though Warcraft was heavy there, it was still part of that scene.
That's right. That's right. Wow. So how old were you when, when that introduction happened? Do you know remember around how old you were?
Yeah, I was 8 years old.
8 years old.
Yeah, like 8 years old.
Wow. Wow.
So
And
killed.
uh
Yeah, yeah.
and after he introduced you to rock music, did you start kind of immediately going out, on your own trying to find things, or did that take another few years? Um,
I went to this dude called Bolivar on Freeman Street, not
okay.
not far from where we were at, and no, it didn't work. So I had to do everything by ear. He had his own style. He had the do re mi fa sol la si do method, and I wanted to learn songs. So I just it took way too long, but I did it. I learned bit by bit. Songs and stuff. But I wasn't going to go to no teacher because after him, I can pick this up by ear.
I see. I see. So you were trying to play guitar at that point. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no,
Wow.
by yeah, 11 years old. Yeah.
I see. I see. And did your family have a guitar that you could use?
No, my father bought a guitar from Bolivar that was a real a piece of junk. Uh, yeah, it was held. The bridge was held by a red pencil, and you couldn't move the D string, so you had to tune to that where it was at. It got
Wow.
me going. It got
Yeah.
me going. I wish I still had it.
Yeah, yeah. It was it an acoustic?
Yeah, yeah, it was
An
a
acoustic.
Stella,
Okay.
like an old Stella from the 40s or the 30s. But
Wow.
it was junk. Yeah, but
Wow.
a good time.
Um, well, it sounds like your parents were, very supportive of you trying to get into this music. Did they have like any hesitation about some of the music you had started to
No,
listen
not
to?
really. They just wanted to keep me indoors. They didn't
Yeah,
want me going outdoors. So they got me the guitar so that I can study and practice records so I can stay indoors.
I see. I see.
For a little kid, the neighborhood was hot. It's too hot
Yep,
for it. You know,
absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well,
they did me right because that's where I wanted to be by
yeah.
a guitar and those records.
Yeah. What I was gonna ask you, but I guess the answer is stay indoors. I was gonna ask you what you did for fun around the neighborhood. when you were a
No,
kid?
we didn't go out. No, it was indoors. So it was it was during the whole crack epidemic and
Yep,
dealers and stuff. It was scary. Neighborhood was
absolutely.
scary. So we were. Dad was in. He was indoors by 6, 7. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, I'm sure you all um avoided going out at night or anything like that. Absolutely. Um do you remember, when you were getting into heavier music, 8, 9, 10, 11, were there kids at your elementary school that were also getting into it?
Nobody,
Okay.
nobody. Yeah, I was the only one wearing like Rolling Stones t-shirts, and you know, yeah, and I was alone. Yeah.
And, and what elementary school was it? Was it the one close to where you lived?
No, what? Yeah, we moved to the North Bronx.
Oh, okay. I
We had
see.
moved. We had moved from one bad neighborhood to another, like a bad neighborhood, another bad neighborhood. And yeah, that was John Philip Sousa. I went to John Philip Sousa Junior High School and Harry S. Truman, where I met Kyle. Met Kyle.
I see. I see. I
So,
see. I
yeah,
see.
we
I
moved to the
see.
North Bronx by the time I was 10. Yeah.
I see. And so if did you live close to Edenwald then? Is that where you lived?
Yeah.
I see. I see. Yeah. So yeah, from one rough neighborhood, I guess, to
Yeah,
another one, right?
that's right.
Um, wow. So
But it wasn't all that bad.
yeah, sure.
There were families,
Sure.
families in the building, and
Sure.
there were people I was happy to see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And as long as you weren't in the wrong place when you weren't supposed to be, then,
Yeah, yeah,
that's fine.
thank goodness. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank goodness.
Yeah. Um, so, when you're getting more and more into this kind of music, obviously your cousin is a big influence on it. Um, what are other ways that you would like find new bands or hear of new bands?
Just the record store, going to the record shop and seeing an album cover that was cool. I thought I had seen what was that? Yngwie Malmsteen, Odyssey. And I thought that was cool. And then I saw Judas Priest screaming for vengeance with the eagle.
Absolutely.
I got it.
Absolutely.
I have to get this. I had no idea what it was about. I had
Yeah.
no idea what music was like, but I had to get it. Yeah.
And what record store were you going to, or what record stores?
Oh, there was the Wiz. There was the Wiz, and believe it or not, there was Caldor department store. They had a damn good record selection.
Really?
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Caldor's department store out of all places.
That's funny. That's funny. So when you moved to the North Bronx, uh was there like a music instrument store that you would go
Yeah,
to?
yeah, there was Palumba's.
Columbus.
Palumba's.
Okay.
I was there since 1955. And
Wow.
in fact, the sign, the Palumba sign, is now part of his. I don't know where it is. It should be in a museum. I think that's what I heard. That
Yeah.
it's being kept for historical purposes. The
Oh, I'm gonna have to get in touch with them. Um, yeah.
Mike Palumba. Yeah, I worked there, and I bought two of my first electric guitars at Palumba's. Yeah.
Ah, okay. So when you upgraded from your acoustic with the red pencil,
Mhm.
that was where you got your first electric, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
What kind of guitars were your first two electric guitars?
First one was a Hondo with one pickup, one humbucker, and the second was Ibanez Roadstar 2. You remember
Okay.
those?
I'm gonna actually look right now because I want to see what it
Ibanez
um
Roadstar 2. Yeah, they made a. You can find them anywhere now.
oh yeah, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see.
Those were the
I
first two.
see. Um
Really quick, that Palumbo's, that was like the Gun Hill area?
Yeah, right. You
Gun
got
Yeah,
Hill,
it.
that's
okay.
right.
Exactly.
Um wow. So when you know, during these years when you were, you know, you got your first electric guitar, you were playing more, you're in a new neighborhood. Um, had you met others that were playing instruments or that were into this music by that point in time?
In my building, there was a drummer on the first floor,
Okay.
and I played music with him for a bit, but he didn't. Uh, he Yeah, he didn't like what I was doing. You know,
Okay.
he'd stop midway, he'd stop drumming, he'd go, wait a minute, that part there, no. So I got, we still remain friends, but
Mhm.
I didn't want to continue playing music with him.
I
And
see.
the way I met the guys from Warcraft, Ivan Lopez and Caesar Lopez, and it was Tom Taggart. Tom Taggart was the bass player at that time, and Rob Sonnenberg was the
Sonnenberg.
drummer.
Yeah. He was the first drummer.
I
The
see.
first drummer, Rob Sonnenberg, and I was 19, and my friend, or 20, I was 19 or 20, and my friend, Gorilla Rich, we used to call him Gorilla Rich, but his name is Richie Iglesias. But Rich uh, told me that this band he knew by Howard Beach needed a singer, and I said, yeah, sure. You know, and so I went to audition for it, and I loved the guys immediately. It was like, wow, home. It's like it felt like it was home. And yeah, it was 19 or 20. And but even right before them, I was listening to heavy stuff, you know, like King Diamond. I'm
Sure.
still a King Diamond fan. I'm still a big King Diamond fan. And but then with these guys, I started getting into the heavier stuff like Obituary and Death and who else was there? Napalm Death, Carcass.
Yeah.
Because I knew
Sure.
those guys were listening to it. You know, I think Caesar was around 14 years old at the time.
Very young and very talented.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, Caesar was he was a child. He was a
Yes.
child.
Wow. So you at that time when you joined up with them, you were the only Bronx guy. All of the rest of them were from Howard Beach. Is that right?
Us too. Us too. Oh yeah, me. Wait, at that moment, yeah, Rob Sonnenberg, Tom Taggart, and Ivan Lopez. Yeah, I was the only one from the Bronx, so I had to haul it from the number 5 Baychester Avenue all the way to Lefferts Boulevard.
Oof.
And yeah, that's
2 hours
It's
plus.
a long.
plus. Yeah,
Wow. Wow. That's dedication.
they were
Um,
nice enough to let me stay over sometimes, you know, so that I wouldn't take the train so late at night.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So we're gonna get more into kind of continue on with the Warcraft narrative in a little bit, but before we do that, just a little bit more with you, Ish, and then we'll kind of do the early background of Gerson. But
Yeah.
before you started you know, with Warcraft, were there any other bands that you were a part of?
No, no, that's the first.
That's
That
the
was
first.
yeah.
Wow. So and why don't you talk some about like the kind of rock scene at Truman High School? Because you know, from what Kyle said, there were at least a few of y'all by that point.
Yeah,
Um,
not much of a rock scene, but there was a guitar class that we all liked hanging out at, Mr. Altieri's.
I see. I see. Yeah, he mentioned Mr. Altieri. Yeah.
Yeah, we used to hang out there a lot, and I'd go over to Kyle's and hang out with him. And I think did Kyle tell you a story about the Nirvana cassette he had?
I
Did he
don't
tell you?
think he did.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think he
Yes.
did.
I think it was mentioned because I've been on a binge watching these videos.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, yeah. I might be forgetting it, but remind me of what it is because I record a lot of these, so
I
sometimes I forget.
remember just one time he had gotten a cassette in the mail from some band called Nirvana, and we were like 18 and he was 16 or something. And he said, yeah, this guy just sent it to me. He sent this to me. And I think it was a demo of Bleach or something.
Oh, yeah, he did mention that. Yeah, 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 yeah,
See?
yeah.
He
That's
still
funny.
has it. I wonder if he still has it.
I don't know if he still has it. Gerson, do you remember if he mentioned if he still had it or not? I don't think he said that. We'll have to ask him.
When I saw
That's
that
funny.
interview, it was about 4 days ago. And so I can't, I have issues with my memory sometimes. I was in the service and I had a couple of TBIs, traumatic brain injury, so my memory could be in and out at times.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We'll figure it out. I don't think he mentioned if he still had it or not, but
And
now I remember.
he popped the cassette in the, in the stereo, and we listened to it. And you're like, oh yeah, oh this is good. This is good. Yeah, yeah.
That's funny. Little did you know that they would blow up
Yeah, yeah.
Massively.
um wow. Wow. So, were you going to any or had you gone to any concerts by this point in time?
Mm, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was going to yeah, I was going to heavy concerts. Yeah. I forgot all about that the Metallica and Justice for All when that came out. I heard it.
Oh, okay.
Blown away by it.
Wow. Was that the first concert you went to, a Metallica concert?
No, 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 but um the first one was what? Morgus? It was
Oh,
Morgus.
okay. Okay, I see. Do you
I
remember
had
where that
I had
was?
no idea what that was about. Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend Little Richie
Uh-huh.
took me with him and was blown away. And then we saw Creator, and I
Wow.
was just following him just because I was just going for what he liked. And but then I was after hearing Creator, Coma of Souls, you're sold.
Forget
Yeah,
about it. I know. I
yeah.
know. So was he your friend from Truman also, or did you know him from
No,
somewhere
Evander
else?
Childs High School. I graduated from Evander Childs High School because I spent an entire year in summer school and night school for gym because I'd refused to wear
Ah,
shorts. I'd
okay,
refused to
sure.
wear. So yeah, so Kyle got it wrong. I saw the injury out. No, no, I
Yeah,
just spent an entire year in summer school and night school to get my diploma because I'd
I see.
wear shorts in for gym.
I
Yeah.
see. I see. So aside from Rich, were there others into heavy music at Evander Childs?
Gorilla. I mean, Richie Iglesias.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was it was Richie, uh the two Richies, Richie Iglesias, Richie Pantojas. It was Dave Pimentel, J.R. Suarez, who was in a great band with Richie Pantojas called Killing Ground.
Okay, okay, okay. Sure, sure. A couple people have mentioned them
Yeah,
before.
they didn't play many shows. I think they only played two shows, but they were phenomenal. They were wonderful. And yeah, Alvin Rivera, all these friends, and then when I saw that they started digging this music, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, this is cool. Yeah, this is good.
Did you at this point in time were you dressing at all like a
Yeah,
metalhead or anything like that?
yeah, but I always wore a black leather jacket since I was 6 years old because my dad always wore a black leather jacket, so he
Wow,
wanted me to look like him.
that's
So
cool.
yeah, but the motorcycle jackets, yeah, yeah, that was by the time of the Richie Iglesias and Richie Pantojas, yeah.
I see. I see. Wow. So we're gonna come back to you, Ish, to fill in a little of the history of early Warcraft before Gerson got involved. But before we do that, Gerson, let's hear some more from you. And why don't you start off by talking about your family history and background and how your family ended up in the Bronx?
Okay, so my father was born in Guayama, Puerto Rico, and he came to New York, the Bronx, when he was young. I don't know how young, probably in his early teens. My mother was born in New York. My grandmother at the time lived at the Grand Concourse somewhere around the 149th area. And I don't remember how they met because I never asked them how they met. But eventually they had this guy.
Look at that.
Yeah, that was me.
Wow.
And I was actually born, disclaimer, I was born in Mount Sinai Hospital because at that time that was known as the best hospital. I was a preemie baby. My mother was about to lose me because I was going to come out too early. And apparently they had some experimental thing where she was intravenously given alcohol to relax her muscles so she wouldn't get the contractions to push me out early.
Yeah.
Uh, and family and visitors were encouraged to bring beverages, alcoholic beverages, from what she told me. And then apparently, the doctors told me, probably with that treatment, I'm probably gonna need special care after, saying coming to the world. So thank God I'm as normal, as normal as I can be. But what's normal by anyone's
That's
standard? You
right.
know what I'm saying?
That's right. For real. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely, quite a birth story. I'm glad that you made it out all right.
yeah.
Um,
I was born, it was a compound presentation birth. So I was born like this, and my stupid elbow tore my mother from back to front.
wow. 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 And what neighborhood were your parents living in when you were born? Do you know?
Um, I remember my earliest memories was in Wells Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah. And I remember visiting from time to time my Uncle Tony's house. I think he was around the what highway was that? Oh my God. I think the Bronx, near the Bronx Expressway where there used to be a path mark.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was also a high school in that area. I don't remember, but yeah, we used to go back and forth to there. And then later on, we moved to 187th on the corner of Washington. Um, and further down from us, it was Park Avenue. So
Sure.
I
Sure.
was where that bus route, the 55, would pass through. Like at the edge, literally at the corner, the edge of where it starts off like little Italy of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Bronx, and up all the way straight up 187th till you run into Southern Boulevard where the Bronx Zoo is at.
I see. I see. I see. And how old were you when you moved to that apartment?
I believe about 6 or 7 years old.
Okay, so that's probably where most of your early memories
Yes,
start then, right?
yes.
You mentioned you had some early memories from Wales Avenue, though. What are some of your early memories from Wales Avenue?
Um, the terrible couch that was covered in plastic would stick to your skin.
You gotta have
Um,
that.
Yeah, just the big, massive TVs and big junky speakers. My music was always in my family. My grandmother on my father's side was a singer in Puerto Rico and a dancer.
Wow.
Her name was Saraida. She passed, and let me see. I grew up in a very religious Pentecostal faith family. So all my life, as far as I can remember, I my family was in church. I was always my life always gravitated around music. So I got a photo here of those early days where even if I didn't play an instrument, I was trying to sing or do something musically to be involved. And my uncle also, my uncle Tony, who was the oldest of the brothers on my father's side, played guitar, and he would sing.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Did he live close to you? Did other like aunts and uncles live close to you?
My aunt, as as far as I can remember, had lived around the Mapes area,
Sure.
and let me see. That's pretty much about it. And then my uncle Tony moved to the Throgs Neck area
Okay. Sure.
by the bridge. With my cousins. He had a total of six boys, so I had a lot of cousins
Wow. Wow.
just for
Wow.
him. And
Wow.
he had other children too. My oldest cousin that I remember, his name was Anthony Ortiz, and he also was a kind of impactful as far as a dancing and performance aspect because when he was young, he actually became a break dancer and he performed in the Ringling Brothers and Barlin Bailey Circus, and he was with them for a while.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so he
Was
was touring all over the place. Yeah.
was he a part of a b-boy crew or anything like that?
Yes, yes. I don't remember the crew, but I know, I mean, whatever crew he was, he probably separated to be in that
Yeah.
performance group of the circus.
Wow, that's incredible. So were you drawn to you said you're drawn obviously to music, but were you like drawn to dancing at a young age too?
My youngest memories of dancing was when hip hop was born. When break dancing came out in the early '80s, and I remember watching my brothers and their friends on the corner with a piece of wax cardboard or a piece of vinyl flooring, and just spinning away. You know, doing their b-boy poses and stuff like that, and just all the fancy footwork.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a crazy time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I tried. I
Absolutely.
used to do it in my living room with my brother on the floor. That time, the apartment I lived in, the building was made in 1908. The building was 476. And at that time, the floors were still brand new, so it was wooden floors and it was still like shellacked. So I remember when we first moved in that apartment as a kid, we had the onesies pajamas with the plastic soles. So me and my brothers and sisters would
Yeah.
run, and we would slide. Man, we would slide, and if we fell, and it hurt, but it was still fun.
Wow, wow. So what are some of the things that you remember doing for fun around your neighborhood? I guess this would be, when you moved when you were, 5 or 6 when you moved to your other apartment. What are some of the things you would do for fun?
I just like Ish. The parents kept us in the house for the most part. We would
Yeah,
go outside as a family. Or with my older brothers. So my mother, before she met my father, she had a previous marriage, and she had two sons from that marriage. That I do remember. And my older brother Ray, he retired from the NYPD. He did, I think, 27, 28 years of service. He was very impactful in my life because when my mother and my father separated when I was 9 years old, he became the dad of the house.
I see. I see.
Yes.
I see. And how much older than you was he?
Oh, I think
Around. You don't have to be
I
exact.
would say about 6 years, 6, 7 years
Okay. I
older.
see. I see. Wow.
Yeah. And
Okay,
then
so he's like a teenager,
yeah,
older
taking up the
teenager.
mantle. Mhm.
I
See,
see.
but my brother Ray, like, there's no distinction. Like, he has a different last name.
Yeah.
He's my brother, like he was my blood, same
Yeah,
blood.
sure. Sure.
Well, that's the way we were brought up and raised. And my other brother Willie, my brother Willie was the one that really was a huge influence on my musical tastes and upbringing.
Okay, talk about that some. Yeah.
Yeah. So my brother Willie, he was all into Jethro Tull, the Beatles, all the classic rock. Shoot, he even introduced me to Howard Stern when it was getting big. I would remember waking up because we shared a room. It would be four of us in the room, the four boys, and I would hear Howard Stern just going. But yeah, it was you can name it, Fleetwood Mac, all the greats. Jesus, I can go on just like Ish, ACDC as well. Um, I didn't know much about the heaviest my brother went was like Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses. Um, but my brother Ray, when he was breakdancing and he was in his b-boy phase, he had a denim jacket that I wanted so bad, and I think he still may have it. So the denim jacket that he has had a logo from Iron Maiden that at the time I did not know was an Iron Maiden logo, but coincidentally, and capping off of Ish, it was from the Killers cover.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and even I know I've heard plenty of stories of, like B-boys who might not have listened to, say, like Iron Maiden or, Aerosmith, but they still were drawn to the imagery, and so they
Yes.
incorporated it. But yeah, that's interesting that you had that experience too. Yeah.
That was the one.
Wow. Wow. So, uh, how old were you when you started, kind of listening to heavier heavier music on your own?
So when I went before I get to that point, a little recap. Um, for fun, as I got older, like preteens, my brothers Ray and Willie had those little penny skateboards, a black one and a blue one. So I got into doing that for fun when I was able to go outside in the front of the building for a little bit during the summer or after school. So as I got older, I got more involved in the skateboard culture. At the same time, my musical taste was developing.
I see. I see. I see. I see. So you started skating then. Ah.
Yeah, I was
Um,
one of those kids, the skateboard kids and heavy metal kids, and I was definitely like one of the different, the most different kid in my block for a while. With that because and eventually I started attracting other kids who were like-minded as far as the fun stuff I did.
I see, I see. And what junior high were you going to
Okay. So my earliest let me see. I went to PS 85 for kindergarten
okay.
and a couple of grades, and then I was transferred to where is it? PS 205A. And this is the class right here.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's me right there.
Wow.
And yeah, Miss Janice and Mrs. Giametta, I would never forget them. It's crazy enough, and this may sound weird, but I found them very pretty.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, anything they told me to do, I did it.
yeah.
So I was a good
Wow.
student. And I went, let me see, after 205, let me see, I went to PS 32, Thomas Giordano, I think it was. And I was there. I graduated at school, and Miss Victor, this is me at my graduation. Miss Victor, I don't know if she's still alive, but she was like a mother to me.
Wow.
Um, yeah, she saw something in me that encouraged me to keep going with my schooling because I was kind of a daydreamer. Um, um, I was one of those kids that I was very smart but didn't really participate, and I was always told if you just applied yourself, you could be a lot further along than you are now.
Yeah.
And I wasn't officially diagnosed, but years after my oldest son was born, and he was diagnosed with ADHD, and I got involved in understanding the different how you say symptoms of it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh crap, I think I was ADHD when I was young.
Sure.
I was a little different from everybody else, so they had me. No one probably would never admit this, but I was in special education for a while.
Sure.
And
Sure.
then up until the fifth grade, and then they had put me in this pilot program called mainstreaming, and I did so well. What it was a slow integration into regular ed classes, and I did so well that when I took the end of the year school test, I wound up skipping a whole full grade.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
was always made fun of, and I was always bullied in those classes that I was slowly, integrating. I was like, they're like, oh, he's special ed,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a whole stupid thing like that.
Yeah.
But I swallowed it. I dealt with it, and I knew what my purpose was, even though it was kind of painful to be bullied in that way. But I made the best of it.
Wow. Wow. And PS32, that was just through, was that through fifth grade or sixth grade?
Uh, I can't remember
Oh,
honestly.
that's fine. That's fine. But what junior high did you go to after PS32?
Okay, no, actually, PS32. It was actually, I went junior high school was junior high school 45. That was a Thomas C.G. O'Donnell.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah. So I apologize for that
Oh, no, no,
misinformation.
that's all right. That's right. Yeah, yeah, I forgot that too.
Thomas C.G. O'Donnell 45,
I see. I
which
see.
was not far, which is on the other side, a block over from Theodore Roosevelt.
That's
And in
right.
between those two schools, you had the Boys and Girls Club, where I spent some of my summers there too, with my friends that I grew up with on the block, that also got into the heavy metal skateboarding music, and also we did some BMX bike, street bike stuff.
Wow. Now, where would you do where would you ride your bike and skateboard, just kind of around the neighborhood, or were there spots that you'd go to?
Kind of around the neighborhood for the most part. And my block at that time, because it was getting better within time, but I remember even further back around Wells, like there was still remnants of that hard 70s time where there was a lot of abandoned buildings, just shells of tenements around the area. You could still smell the fire smoke from them because sometimes the homeless would go in there or drug
Yeah,
addicts would go in
yeah,
there.
I
You know
remember
what
that.
I'm saying? Yeah. Remember that ish?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I do.
So we used to take like a lot of our material, like wood material, and we would make our own ramps. We would go to the junkyards that were there from the buildings that did fall and were cleared out, and we would jump refrigerators, you name it. We were just very adventurous, me and my friends. As a matter of fact, quite a few of my friends that I skated with also became my first unofficial bandmates when we were kids and just getting into music because we hung out and we would listen to like Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, Striper even.
Sure.
And we would do a lot of air guitar. I was always doing air drumming and stuff like that. And little by little, we all decided to get our instruments. So we went to everyone's favorite spot in the Bronx, Bronin's.
Bronin's music for sure.
Remember?
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
yes. And these were my friends at the time. I'm gonna point them out. This is James. He played guitar. And that's me, right? That's me with the black t-shirt. And that's James. And then you have Hector, who also went to school with. Peter, I don't know where he went, but you got Carlos. I heard he passed away. Let him rest in peace. And my friend Lester Ortega. Lester Ortega, he really started opening my eyes more to a little bit more heavier stuff. And he was kind of like in his rebellious phase because his mother was like, music was Satan. You know, the heavy metal music was Satan. There's a lot, there's a lot of stigma with the heavy metal music.
That's right.
Yeah. And so I wound up after junior high school 45, I wound up going to Roosevelt where I met more kids who dressed more like I did. Um, and um, and funny that I have that. So I got this picture here of Luis Acevedo from high
Wow.
school. Yep. And his this picture over here is of Alberto Mejia. Him and his brother, and I'm pretty sure I heard this name before. Him and his brother Juan Carlos, they were known as the Culero brothers.
Oh yes, of course, of course. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So so I was in school with them. I was in school with Isaac from Crazy Eddie.
Of course.
I was in school with George Vasquez, who was now a Latin percussionist.
That's right.
And yeah, he would come to our shows and help me out with my drums. So he was kind of like a roadie in a sense. And who else? Danny from Dead Seasons.
Sure.
Danny Cabrera. Yeah. And yeah, I remember that black guitar that had the speaker on the side of it, that he would play, and we would all hang out either at the auditorium or we used to go to the music room. Excuse me, Mr. Tomasulo's, and yeah, he did a lot of times. He did try to kick us out, but we would sneak back in because he had all the instruments that we can, play with and whatever and whatnot. So we would jam out.
Wow, wow. And where would you go like to check out records or find new music or things like that?
I would go to Fordham Road. There was a couple of record stores up there. I can't remember the names, but I remember when with
Crazy Eddie's.
yes,
Crazy.
yes, yes. They had music there, and then I would also go when Tower Records was becoming big. I would go to Tower Records. I would go to the Village. And I started getting exposed to the Village by Tony Rodriguez, the drummer from Rampage.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure, sure, sure.
And on that note, Tony Rodriguez from Rampage, that guy right there,
Look at that.
he was actually my drum teacher for 2 years, my drum instructor.
Oh, okay. Where at Bronin's or where was
You
he the
know?
instructor?
So my brother Willie had some high school friends, Robert Sepulveda, who also played guitar, and he lived with us for a while. He also played guitar and bass, and whenever he was working as a real estate agent, he would allow me to play and practice with the guitars under the condition that I didn't break a string and did not scratch the bodies, and everything was put back the way it was. So I was playing guitar for a while too, as well, before I really got serious into drums. So I would carry a pair of drumsticks in my back pocket, and I also had a guitar that I would bring with me. And my very first guitar was like a black and white copy of a Fender Stratocaster that was given to me by my friend James. It was his father's,
Ah, okay.
James Duran, and I tried to hook it up, did some experimental stuff of it on it, and later down the line, it became unserviceable.
Now with that picture that you just showed again with all of y'all together, did
Yeah.
you did you like name your band anything or you were just kind of jamming together?
No, we were just jamming for the most part. We just, I guess we played around with the idea, the fantasy of being in a band and doing stuff like that. And out of all of us, I took it the most to heart, the most serious out of all of us. And yeah, and they supported me a lot of the times, and they came to my shows, when they got older, and I was performing with Warcraft. But yeah, let me see. I used to skate around with my headphones, Sony Walkman. I had cassettes, and I was just cruising along, holding on to back of cars, buses, and just going through the streets, weaving with my skateboard and stuff like that. This was like the 80s type skateboards, Tony Hawk brands and Vision, whatever, Alva. I had an Alva skateboard. Yeah,
Wow.
so I was doing that. And then my first instrument. Actually, my first love for drums came when I was a kid in the Pentecostal faith. We would go to church, and I was always looking at this woman who would play the drums.
Yeah.
Beautiful woman. I guess all the women like that are beautiful, I know. But a beautiful woman, and she would play, and I liked the way she played. She had skill. And she came to me one time, and she's like, it's like, I noticed she looked at me, is like, do you want to learn to play the drums? And I was like, yes, I would like to play one day, where you play in the church. And so she would give me an instrument once a week. She would give me like a Spanish guido, and then the tambourine for percussion and stuff like that. And I did that for a while, but then of course my parents, they separated, and then we stopped going to church.
I see. I see. And what church was that your family went to? Do you remember the name of it?
Okay, so on that corner of 187th on Third Avenue,
Yeah.
there was a bar called Benny's Bar.
Oh, okay. I've heard of it before. Yeah,
Yeah,
someone has mentioned. Yeah,
yeah, and it became a Spanish restaurant. But my brother Ray and Willie both worked there making pizzas for them. And at times, since it was different, minors weren't allowed. But as long as no one saw you, and you was in the dark, it was cool.
yeah.
So I would get in there once in a while, listen to the music, see all the bikers, some of the chinglings would go there and whatever, whatnot.
Mm, mm.
That's right.
So the church was about a few businesses up. It was a small Pentecostal church, kind of like it had two entrances, and then when you get inside, it was kind of big.
I
But
see.
yeah, but I went to that church for a long time, and that's when I learned to play and do and certain instruments, and got more engulfed with the passion of um, music.
I see. Now, it's interesting you mentioned the Chinglings. I forget who it was. It might have been Isaac even. Someone I remember mentioned who, at least lived for a period of time, like around Arthur Avenue, that they would hear the Chinglings blasting like especially like hard rock or metal from their headquarters sometimes. Do you have memories of that? Did you ever experience that?
Yes, I did, and also at times too, you would see them right through with their bikes and stuff like that. And then since I lived right there at the edge, a lot of people, I don't know how many people would remember this, but around the 80s, everything was kind of somewhat segregated because Arthur Avenue was predominantly Italians, and then they had Italians, Albanians, I guess some Russians or whatever, whatnot.
Shula Parkway. Shula
Yeah, that
Parkway.
too. But
Yes.
every summer, like in the 80s, every summer, for some reason, something would jump off, and there would be like a riot war. You have Italians and Albanians coming running down to fight the blacks and Puerto Ricans and Mexicans, and there would be like bottles and bats involved. And it was like I think about 4 or 5 years that went on.
Yeah.
And it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. It
I
kind of reminded me of the movie, not so much the Warriors, but like the Fordham Baldies or something
the
like that.
Fordham Baldies. Yep. Yep.
Wanderers.
Yeah.
Wanderers.
The Wanderers.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderless, yes. It was kind of like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
and then every summer too, they would have like a festival. Little Italy would have a festival, and they would bring live bands.
I
Mm.
see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard a lot of stories of, kind of um, fighting in the neighborhood, especially, whites fighting everyone else to make sure they didn't come down their street or something like that.
Yeah,
So yeah. Um, but
That was
but
kind of
yes,
all over New York. That was all over New York.
that's right. That's right.
Neighborhood.
Absolutely. Um, so do either of y'all do you remember, I mean, obviously there's the Chingalings, but do you remember like any remnants of any of the old street gangs, or was it all crews by the time you all were like coming up?
after a while, in my area, it kind of died out. It became more cruise block related. know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You
Yep.
kind of learned what the boundaries were. Excuse me.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
Here's a picture of my church. That's me.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm right there looking right at the camera next to my sister.
I see. I see. Um, so so Gerson, what's the first like concert or show you went to, if you
Ooh.
remember?
Yeah, I do. I had a friend that went into the Marines in the service, and was on leave, and he came by and he picked me up. He's like, "Hey, man, I got these tickets to go see Pantera." I was like, "Pantera?" I was like, "Oh, well, but that's that new band from Texas, right?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah. They're gonna be they're gonna be playing with Mind Over Four and Prong." So Mind Over Four was the first act, the opening act, then Prong, and then Pantera. Man,
Wow.
was that an experience of a lifetime. After that point, I didn't go too many because I was a poor kid growing up. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any
Sure.
money. And then just like Ish traveling to Queens, I took the train, and there was times where I jumped the turnstile because I didn't have any money.
Of course. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
And I took that. It took a 2 hour train ride. So I took the Fordham, the D train, and switched off to the A, and then the A all the way down to was it Lefferts Boulevard
Mm.
on
Yeah.
110th Street.
100%
Like,
sweet.
yeah.
He lived on
Uh,
108. I think on
yeah,
108.
yeah, you walked a couple of blocks down the boulevard to 108.
I see. I see. Wow. So at that first show that you went to, the Pantera show, did you get into the pit at that point?
Oh, oh hell yeah! Like I did at first when I saw that, I thought something broke out. I thought it was like I got flashbacks of the brawls in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
and I was like, "What the hell's going on?" And my friend said, "Come on!" He just grabbed me by my collar and pulled me in, and I just started going with the flow. I saw him run up stage, and this is during the Cowboys of Hell album. Yeah, and just I think this was at Lemore's,
Lemoore's. Okay. Okay.
in the city, and he jumped off stage. I went in, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that too. I went and did it. I jumped. I saw a crowd, but as I flipped over, I didn't feel a crowd, and I got the wind knocked out of me when I hit the floor, and I
Oh.
got up. It was the greatest thing on earth.
Wow.
And then I
Wow.
went to a point until I caught my breath. But I did it again. I went up and did it, and then I got lucky and got caught. It was an awesome night. The next day, I remember getting up and my back was so sore. I sounded like a 50-year-old, like my age right now. Like I was very hoarse. Like if I was because I could screaming and stuff like that. And it's just at that time people smoked in those clubs. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it was fun. It was a blast.
Wow. Wow. And you know, talk some about, I guess deciding to focus more on drums and how you got your first kit and all of that.
Okay, so I was 13 years old, and I told my mother that I wanted to learn to play drums, and because at that time Robert Sepulveda introduced me to Tony Rodriguez, so it was a friend of a friend kind of a deal, and I would go to his place, um, and um, and he had like a studio flat, and the biggest thing that was in the apartment was that drum set. He had a small
Absolutely.
bed. He had Metallica posters everywhere. He idolized Lars Ulrich. So I idolized him. So that made me idolize Lars Ulrich as well. Tony to me was like a big brother slash father figure. I love that man. If it wasn't for him, I would have not developed as I did as a percussionist. I wouldn't have had the experiences I had in my life. I'm still in contact with him, and I love him to that day. And I
Wow.
remember when he was in his band, Rampage, I used to hang out with him all the time. I knew Joey, I knew all the guys. I seen all the guys, all the different lineups that came through joining Rampage. So it was, yeah, it was. Matter of fact, this is Tony's second drum set. And then look at this. Hold on a second. I love that man so much and I love him so much. This was my drum set.
I see. I see. Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Um,
But
was
yeah,
that
he was. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh I was gonna say was that the photo you showed, was that your first drum set?
Yeah, so what happened was when my mother saw that I was getting serious and wanting to play, because she saw me on the guitar already and on the bass, and I was playing drums in school. Um, I told her, I said, Mom, she's like, I know you can't afford it because she had 8 of us. You know, she was a single mother in between our relationships. And I told her, look, I don't care how long it takes. I don't want no more allowance. I don't want another birthday gift. I don't want a Christmas gifts. And I told my all everyone in my family that if they want to, help me out, the word got spread out. And within for 2 years, I didn't get anything. And then my stepfather came to, he's like, "You ready?" I was like, "For what?" It's like, "We're gonna get your drum set." I was like, "No way, no way," because they went to Bronner's too themselves. He saw it. He saw it. He knew where Bronner's was at. So when he went and took me, and I got a percussion plus 5-piece set with these ratty ass sound like garbage cans cymbals. But hey, they served the purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I got my drum set, brought it home. I sacrificed some stuff that I threw out just to make room for it, and I would play every day. And I lived in was it 5-floor apartment building, like I think with about 80 units. And man, did I give my neighbors hell.
Wow, wow. So, before we get to Warcraft, are there bands that you played with? I mean, I know there's the group of neighborhood kids that you jammed with, but is there any band that you played with before Warcraft?
Uh, no, James, Lewis, Hector, and Pablo was the guys that I hung out with the most and skated with and jammed out. And then Warcraft was my first in serious band. So I lost my band virginity to those guys.
And before you joined up with Warcraft, had you seen them perform anywhere? Had Warcraft played
No,
before that? Okay.
I got introduced to Ish, and Ish. Maybe you can help me out. I don't remember who it was. I think it was a friend to a friend, and he told me about this band that was looking for a drummer. And when I met Ish, I remember meeting Gorilla Rich too for the first time. I think he was a short dude, a
Hmm.
short dude that barely had control of his intestines. If he had to go, he had to go. That's the way Ish put it.
No, he's a bear of a man. He's a big guy. Big guy.
Wow. Um, so
Wasn't it at in Westchester Square at the
I just know I met you. You and me got along pretty good. You had a copy of a rehearsal tape when the original drummer, Rob Sonnenberg, and the other bassist was in, and you gave it to me. Was it you or was it Ivan? But anyway, I got a tape from one of you guys to take it home for a couple of weeks and to learn the material, study it, so I can. When we finally decided to hook up and meet at the studio in Queens, I think, which was on Underground Studios.
yeah.
um,
Ooh,
um,
I remember
uh,
that.
yeah, I would be prepared to play with them.
I
And
see. I
You
see.
know, when I met Gerson and continued hanging out with him, it felt like I always knew him. It's like someone I always knew. So it's hard for me to pinpoint like remember where we met. It's
yeah,
just
I
like
got the same vibe, bro.
yeah,
Wow. Do you remember around like what year that would have been that Gerson got in the mix?
There must have been,
1991.
yeah, 90,
91?
91. Yeah.
Yeah,
I see. I see. So how long had Warcraft been together before Gerson joined up?
90. It's
Okay.
1990.
Okay,
Yeah,
so just like maybe a
yeah,
year tops, and
yeah,
maybe not even a year,
yeah.
huh?
Right.
I see, I see, I see. And uh is there like
And
it
then Tom Taggart moved, and Caesar at age 16 took up the bass. So
I see.
it must have
I
been
see.
91. Caesar was 16. Gerson was 18. Weren't you 18?
18, 19 around there.
Yeah.
How old are
And
you now? You're like 51, right? 50?
yeah, more than that. Yeah,
Uh,
53.
53. So you're 3 years older than me. Yeah, I'm 50 now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, I see. And before Gerson joined up, I know you had your rehearsal tape that he already mentioned. Did was Warcraft playing any shows at that point before Gerson joined?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
we were playing Hammerheads, and I don't remember the other place, but Hammerheads, we were playing there often, maybe
That was in
once.
Long Island, right?
Yeah, we had around 30, 40 people that would show up for us. It was
Okay.
beautiful,
Okay.
beautiful, beautiful
Wow.
scene. A lot of people from Howard Beach, Queens, would
Sure.
come. Sweet, just the nicest. Man, just seeing those faces in my mind again. It's like wow. It's like it was a wonderful experience. Yeah.
Yeah, very receptive of especially of me when I came to the mix.
I see. I see. I see. Wow, that's great. You don't always find that either.
They all
Um,
of them were really like Caesar and Caesar's and Ivan's friends and Frank the brother. Like
I
they were
see.
their friends.
I
Like
see.
only people from the Bronx that came up to see Warcraft was my friend Richie Pantojas and Alvin Rivera
I see.
because it was too
Yeah,
far away. It was too far away
yeah,
for the nobody had a car.
That's right.
that's right. Yeah, in those days too, as far as my friends coming to see me and support me, that only happened like in the city, for obvious reasons, the means of travel and stuff like that. But it was Bond Street Cafe, right? Yeah, we
On
had a
Street
great show.
Cafe, yeah, we
We
had
had a
great.
great show.
Yeah.
That
Do you
that
have
that
a?
was the place at the time for
Yeah.
bands like this. Yeah. Um,
And not
did
just metal, all kinds of stuff went
That's
down
right.
there. Great music went down there. Yeah.
That's right. Now, how would you all, when you all were playing these shows out, or even for rehearsal, um, how would you bring your instruments around? Gerson, would you like bring your drum kit on the subway? I've heard a lot of stories of that.
I did that. I did that for the once I. Oh, so what happened? We went to this after I learned the material, right? I kind of, to be honest, and I'm not trying to throw any shade at anyone, at anybody. The former players that were there before I got in, great, talented, time wise and everything. Um, I found the material a little slow. And I don't know if it was more of a nervous energy that I had when I went to go audition for these guys in the studio. I remember Rich Monterana being there, who turned out after I officially became part of the band to be my roadie. I would You could give me 10 roadies. I would never trade them in. I would never take them and trade Rich for those 10 roadies. Hell no. He knew my drum set just as well as I did, if not better. I could just sit there and he'll pull it out for me and I just make minor adjustments. He
Wow.
was the man. He was the man. He was there. Frank, Ivan and Caesar's older brother, was our driver that helped us get around. And we drove around and their parents old, I think 1980 station wagon that held my drum set in the back. So I made one move, and I did that by train with I think, I can't remember. Is it with my brother or did these guys come down and help pick up my drum set? Anyway, it got down there and it just stood down there in that basement for all the time we were learning and playing. So
Sure.
when I got to that studio and we started playing, I met them. I met everybody, shook hands. Right away it was good. They're like, "Hey man, don't worry about it. We're gonna pay for the studio. We got it. Let's just go. Let's have fun and see where we go. Where we go from there." And I started playing, but I kind of bumped up the tempo, and it made the songs better in my opinion. Yeah, it made it better, and it was good. And I didn't know at first whether they liked that or not. I just remember sitting at the drum set after about the fourth or fifth song, and they decided to like, all right, well, look, we're gonna take a break. We'll be right back. We're gonna go talk and see what's up. And I was like nervous because when I first got that tape and I heard it, I felt like they were a bit kind of out of my league, and and for the simple fact that I had no experience being in a band. As far as I'm concerned, they were a real band, especially when they were had playing shows. So I was like, man, this is a baptism by fire, and that I'm jumping in, and I was like, I'm gonna go with it. You know what I'm saying? And since I'm brought up in a religious faith, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna leave it in God's hands, and if it's for me, it's for me. So they came back after about 10, 15 minutes, and they were like, dude, it's like, you're in. And at first, in between songs, they would look around, and I don't know if it was because they were like didn't like the change, or then I found out later that they were pretty much impressed. and with my skills and my abilities at the time.
You
And
had your own energy. You had your very own energy. Like no
yeah,
one.
yeah.
I always knew it was you on drums. It was it's like watching a wolf behind a drum kit. You know, it was really something. It was animalistic in a way. Yeah, there it
Look
is.
at that. Wow.
Yeah, I would be called Captain Caveman sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Uh,
And Ish, you have a incredibly unique like style of vocal delivery too. How did you
yes.
develop that?
Trying to be Bon Scott, but it didn't come out that way. You
Yeah. Yeah. I think Isaac and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago because, I've heard some of the tracks from his mind, and I was like, man, this sounds like what some metal acts in like the early 2000s were doing, but there was no one else doing it at the time in the early 90s. I mean, the kind of going back and forth between really, really fast, like kind of screaming vocal delivery and
operatic.
yeah. It's very, very unique. So like it's cool to listen to. Because this is like a decade before, a lot of bands who, had commercial success were doing this. Um, yeah,
At
but
that time, to chime in, at that time, the only band that I knew that came close to doing that, but they were on the west side of the United States, in like I think it was Fear Factory.
yep.
And Isaac and a lot of the guys I went to school with, at first when I presented my demo, because when I was in high school with them and when we made our demo, we made two. The first one was more received around the Queens area. But the second one that came about because we went to Sabella Studios in Long Island, which was like I was like, wow, I felt like I was definitely in over my head because I'm seeing artists on the wall that I was like, man, that I listened to, grew up listening to. And there was a full mixing board and everything. There was like to the nines. You know what I'm saying? Everything
Yeah.
to the nines. And my mic was getting drummed up for the first, mic'd up for the first time. My drum set, and I was like, this is real. This is happening. I thought we were doing things. I didn't let it get to my head, but
Yeah.
I knew I was like, we're on the path of something here. And so we recorded that. It was a 4-track demo from his mind. I brought it to high school, and I went with and not for my own financial purposes, but to help support us. I went and I started selling that demo. I was in my hustler mode, and I was like, I was with my, hey, man, I'm in this band, and this and that. Like Luis Acevedo said, he's like, oh, okay, in his interview, and yeah, and I was very proud because I knew we had put down some good work, and it was good sound quality, and our stuff even got reviewed in the Village Voice, which I spent the last 3 days trying to find that article. I even went to the Village Voice online to find it, but they have an old system. It looked like it's still in the 80s and 90s, early internet era. But I couldn't find it. Someone has it. One of the bandmates have it, but we got a good review. And if I have to put it numerically, I would say out of 5 stars, we got like a 4.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, who did the artwork for that demo?
It was a friend of Ivan's. He did the artwork. And I wish I knew his name so I can credit him for him right here for historical reasons. And I apologize for that. Maybe I can add that information later. But yeah, man, he was an artist and he didn't get a dime. Not that I know of, unless Ivan paid him off on the side or whatever. But yeah, man, he would always come to our shows. We would get him in and stuff like that whenever he could come. But yeah, there was I was told that our artwork kind of like uh was a little bit dicey because they had girls bent over with fire and blood coming out their nether regions and whatever. We were trying to do something different, and for
Yeah,
the most
sure.
part, watching other
Ivan Lopez was the soul of that
yes,
beautiful guitar
yeah,
player.
the
I
driving force.
still can't.
It was definitely the driving force.
Haunting style. It's yeah, it's an original. It always made me happy that he was right there, like
Yeah.
right next to me, like taking care of the music. All I had to do was sing. All I had to do was show up. But he's the one that really did a beautiful job composing that music.
Mhm,
The
mhm.
flow of bridges and stops and You know, I think Ivan had the most to do with all that.
I see. I see. And were you the main person writing the lyrics ish?
I think so, yeah. From what I remember, Ivan and me.
Okay.
And sometimes I would show up with a song on guitar.
Okay, sure, sure.
But it was never as heavy as you know. Yeah, and I was always wary, but they would try it anyway. And I think we have a couple of slow ones, and if you hear them, usually the slow ones are the ones I wrote.
Okay, sure. Sure. And as far as the very early period of the band before From His Mind, um, was it the same kind of like musical vibe that you all were going to, or is From His Mind like is that different than some of the earlier songs,
Oh,
if you remember?
I
no,
would say
yeah.
it's heavier than the earlier songs.
Mm,
Heavier than the earlier songs?
Yeah. I think the longer we were together, the heavier we were getting.
I
yeah,
see.
yeah.
I see. Um, and uh Gerson, you mentioned there were two demos, one more for the Long Island crowd and then From His Mind. Did that first demo, did that have a title?
It's actually right here. This is the cover of it. It
Oh,
was
okay,
done.
okay.
Yeah, it was kind of weird the way it was done. It was like homemade. This is the
Yeah, sure,
I
sure.
think
art of the cover.
Caesar was 16 there, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah. Look at that baby face right here. This guy right here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
being all tough.
talented. So talented.
That's
Yes,
incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible. Um,
he can play it all: bass, guitar, drums, sing.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Yeah. He's
wow. Now,
Really quick, this is the building I grew up in. This is
oh,
what
okay,
I'm.
you got the photo here. Look at that.
Yeah,
What
and
street? What street is that?
this is 187th, 187th Street.
187th.
Hmm.
Yeah. And right here is where the Benny's Bar used to be. Was it?
Ah, yes, yes, yes. Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's off of Grand Concourse?
No. That's right there. That's Third Avenue.
Third
Uh,
Avenue? Okay, Third Ave.
yeah.
Okay.
That if you take it straight going this way, you run into the Fordham Plaza area.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we grew up not far from each other. Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, Now talk some about if you remember, any shows that you might have played in the Bronx with Warcraft.
Warcraft.
Chippewa. We played the Chippewa Club. We even played at a
Okay.
church. It was kind
St.
of like a talent
Paul's.
show.
St.
Yeah.
Paul's, right?
Yeah. And it was definitely different. I think that was the most difficult crowd we played to because there was more of a, I think, hip hop crowd, but there were some people there that was rocking
You
with
know,
us.
it was not the Chippewa Club where we met. So that's that's obvious. I don't know where we met, Gerson. I don't remember.
I mean, either, bro. I mean,
That's
Yeah.
funny.
I can't, but I'm
That,
glad we did.
now, Gerson, I think I might have been thinking of another church. Was it Tollentine where you all played? Is that right? Or
This was around. Let me see. This place was not too far from George Vasquez's house.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is St. Paul's then, because there was like there were two shows. Actually, let me see if I can even show these here. Fortunately, Rui, who was in the Wasted with Isaac,
Mm-hmm.
uh, had some flyers from these shows that he sent
Mm.
me. Let me put them up here, and that'll probably jog um some more memories even. Let me see here where this is. Just give me a second. How do I do this? Um, Here we go. Let's see which one. Okay, let me just share my screen real quick. Let's see if it'll happen this way. Can you see these?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah.
This is the Chippewa Club show. It doesn't list, I don't think it lists any bands on here, just four bands will be playing, but I think it was, from what I remember, Warcraft, Rampage, Without a Cause, and I forget what the fourth band is right now.
Mm.
But I know there's
And
that.
The Bronx Historical Society has the original.
No, a friend of Isaac, Rui. has the original, but he sent us the images. We're gonna print these off and add them to our collection and all.
I
Um,
met Rui a couple of times, like that crowd, Rui and stuff like that. I met him a few times. I also knew Tommy and Bones that Isaac spoke about, those punkers.
yeah.
I actually jammed out with They used to live in an apartment off of Grand Concourse with these guys named Kenny and Rambo. Kenny got me into Creator with the song "People of the Lies." I love that song. And I
Okay,
used to go,
okay.
I used to jam out with them as well. We were trying to form a
Yeah,
band,
so
and that's where I met Freddie from Kilowatts. I
Oh,
jammed
okay,
out with
okay.
him.
You knew
Yeah, I
Freddie
jammed
from
out with
Kilowatts
Freddie.
too.
Yeah, before he passed.
Wow. And I think Gerson, I think this is the church you're talking about.
Mm,
Metal Madness 2. But the lineup I think isn't the correct lineup because they changed it. It was rescheduled. So you all played this show, is that right?
yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
I
yeah,
remember.
I've heard that the lineup isn't the correct one. So this was, I guess,
Yeah,
a lineup at one point, but yeah, it's St. Paul's Church, 1986 Crotona Avenue. I think this is the church where y'all must have played. And then of course the Chippewa.
yeah.
Uh,
So any shows that went down in the Bronx is because I made that connection. Because we were predominantly in the Queens, Manhattan, and Long Island area playing.
yeah, that
Um,
makes sense.
and a lot of the guys that were on those bills, it was hardcore. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's
hardcore
right.
music. We weren't really hardcore, but we were there to show our brand, our flavor.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, kind of like I guess Rampage wasn't really hardcore either, right? From what I actually
They
haven't
were
heard Rampage. I've been looking for recordings, but
they were a blend.
I
You know
see.
what? If you could find Rampage recordings, it'll probably be on cassette, and I you'd have to speak to Joey Rampage or to Tony Rodriguez about that stuff or any of the other members. But a lot of times we did a lot of recordings through the air on a boombox cassette tape.
Yeah, of course, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that was
Absolutely.
in Bronin Studios because Bronin's had studios upstairs.
That's right. That's right. And Kilowatts was more metal too, I think, right?
Yes, more metal. Yeah, definitely more metal. More metal. Let me
Um,
see. Yeah.
so Chippewa Club, St. Paul's. Do you remember playing anywhere else in the Bronx? Those are the only ones I've heard of, but at
Um,
that time.
well, not with Warcraft. I had played me and Luis Acevedo um um and a couple other guys tried to do something and we played a show in the Bronx at a community center. This is the whole fire extinguisher incident.
Oh, yes. Okay. Uh-huh.
that
Uh-huh.
story. I don't know it.
Yeah, yeah. Tell
Yes.
tell tell the story as you remember it, Gerson.
Oh man, so this is before I officially was in Warcraft. Um, and we decided to go because I knew that Joel, who was in that band, what was the name of that band he was in?
He
Me
he
and
he was in District 9, I think, at one point, but was this before District 9?
yeah, before District 9. Yeah, Joel, we had kind of a weird friendship. When I met him in high school, and at that time, he was a top guy playing the drums, and he was clearly at that time when I first came in better than me. He was, I think, a grade or two above me. He was a senior, a junior or a senior when I met him, and he was really good. He was really good. I liked his style and stuff like that. But then he gave me a lot of crap because I guess he probably saw me as someone who was trying to like either fill his shoes or take over his spot in the music room, whatever, whatnot. And he would bust my chops, but for the most part, we jammed out together and stuff like that. And there was a few times he kind of did things. I remember at the Chippewa Club, I knew it was him. I knew it was him. But before my drum pedals, the springs for the rebounding, loosened them things. I know he did. Remember, Ish, when I had problems setting up my drums with the pedals?
Mhm.
All the tension was out of whack. It was uneven. It was uneven, and I knew he did that. And he also, when I was playing guitar in high school at a talent show, him and his friends kind of sabotaged that too. I guess he saw me as a threat because I wasn't just a drummer. I also played guitar, and I don't know, maybe the girls found me a little more cuter than he was. I don't know, but I guess he saw me as a threat. So there was kind of a rivalry, kind of a rivalry. I had nicer hair than he did. Nicer hair than he did. Yeah.
In the
But
Bronx, I've played at La Peña.
Okay,
You know
sure,
La
sure,
Peña?
sure. Yeah, yeah, La Peña del Bronx. It's down in the South Bronx, right?
Love that place. Yeah.
That's a beautiful place. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There, and I've played where else in the book? See, will come to me, but that's the one that really stands out. Oh, en Casa del Sol, it was a squat.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Sure, sure, sure. And one of the people involved in that is one of the people who started La Peña.
Really?
Uh
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When?
Nieves. Nieves. Yeah.
Nieves, I remember her.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have actually La Peña's archives are in the process of, coming here. She's bringing a little, every couple weeks or so.
How many times have I said hello to her and I had no idea she started La Peña?
Yeah, 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 yeah. She and her husband, and they were both political prisoners in the camps in under Pinochet.
Ah, wow, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, wow. I didn't know that about her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
You're
so
someone
much
that lived in
history.
Casa del Sol.
Yeah, yeah.
Say
Um
hello to. Wow.
wow, that's incredible. So have you played there just like as a solo performer or with other bands?
Yes, solo and with other bands, but usually solo.
Okay. Wow, that's
uh,
really cool.
it's it's really quick. Wasn't you when I met you? I think you told me you was part of this group, Hallucination Station.
Hallucination Station right afterwards. That's where we played. We played at La Peña with Hallucination Station. And the last show Hallucination Station had was at Casa del Sol. Yeah. With
Ah, okay.
Manny Kendo, and William Cordero. It was a little
Okay.
trio of just acoustic guitars and voices. You know,
Wow.
not the
Wow.
powerhouse, and not even close to the powerhouse that Warcraft was.
That's
So
still
I
incredible though. Wow. Um,
toned it down a bit, but
I gotta add in something really quick before I forget because it'll be a disservice if I didn't mention this. But Giovanni, I think the drummer of Tres Muertos. Let me see. I had sold him an extra drum set that I had, really cheap, and I had no idea that he actually did something with that.
yep.
And yeah, beyond me because I was in my own world with the guys in Queens because I was spending a lot of my time rehearsing, hanging out with them and stuff like that, doing shows. So I was in and out of these circles with these guys that I went to high school with, and they did their own stuff in bands, you know, and that's just the way it was. Since the other guys were in Queens, but he sent me this. He sent me this picture when I sold him the drum set, it had this beat up skin on it.
Oh my God, look at that.
that's
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah. And then when he took it off, I was gonna throw it away. He's like, "No, man." He's like, "Can I have it?" And I was like, "I guess, yeah, sure." And then he did that Warcraft thing on it, and then he asked me if I can sign it. And I thought
Uh,
that was kind of odd, but at the same time, I was flattered because I was like, and then
yeah.
I found out later from him before he had his surgery, on I think on his back, he told me and expressed to me like how how much he enjoyed our material. Like he looked up to me, respected me as a drummer, and and when I found out that he actually did something with that drum set and joined other bands, it touched my heart. I was like, wow, I helped somebody get involved and become part of this community that we all forming now for this historical purpose. And it's like, man, a lot of these things are coming full circle.
That's
So I see
crazy.
this as a really high honor, as a New York native, and just being in that scene and being so privileged to have known these people. And my only regret is I didn't spend a lot of time with them like I did with my other bandmates and been around those circles to go with them to a lot of shows. But I did go to a couple of shows with Isaac, Danny, and the Culero brothers. We went to the Clash of the Titans tour show in the Madison Square Garden.
Oh my God,
I
I've
went
heard a
too.
lot of stories about that one.
I went
Um,
to that one too.
Yeah, but and then let me see. We also let me see. We also went to the Tower Records signing of Pantera and Slayer. There's someone's got pictures of that floating around. I have an ex who has a lot of my stuff, and oh man, I wonder. I'll get to her later. Aside from this, but yeah, she had a lot of stuff that I wanted to present because I have pictures of me and the guys from high school of Lou Acevedo, Danny Cabrera, the Culero brothers. Man, we were thick as thieves. You know, we went everywhere with each other. They came to my house. We would go to the Culero brothers' house up on the Grand Concourse, uh, George's house. You know, it was just we were all over the place.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. Uh and so why don't the two of you talk some more about you know, playing shows with Warcraft? Are there any like that stick out in your head as like the most memorable or like, oh, look at that.
I'm
I'm gonna
really
I'm
proud.
gonna send you this stuff, sir. I'm gonna send you this
That's
stuff.
awesome. That's awesome, Gerson. Yeah.
Flyers. I'm
I'm
gonna send
proud
all.
to say I played CBGBs with
Yes, we did.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's
Well, we,
amazing.
we we did it twice, right? We played it twice.
I remember did we do it twice? Yeah. I
I think
thought
we did it twice.
uh-huh. Okay.
You know, when I first got there, I was expecting this big place full of
Hmm.
ambience,
Hell
and
no.
I had no idea it was such a hole in the wall. But it was historical. It
No.
was epic.
It was yeah.
Everything was had stickers on it, graffiti, whatever. It's everything was just like it was just wow. This little place, really?
Yeah, it was
Absolutely.
yeah, the same stage that the Ramones and
Yeah, all the legends
Lomax,
played that.
Lomax and wow.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. It's incredible. Are there other bands that you played with that you were like, wow, I can't imagine that I would ever have played with this band?
We opened up we had well my biggest contribution to our band and I think it's a because I was trying to make up for that terrible show by George's Place. Chippewa was good, but let me get to Chippewa first. Chippewa to me was very important in the sense that after I was doing a lot of stuff with Warcraft and going to Queens, and I separated from Tony and everybody else from Rampage. That's the first time Tony and Joey Rampage got to saw me perform on the drums live, and to me it was very important because he was my teacher, and I wanted to be my at my best and make him proud of me, you know. And I remember at times looking to the corner, he was looking like, and I don't know if it was because we were to him we were terrible or what. And I need to talk to him about that. And I'm pretty sure he's probably gonna say good things, but I don't know. It was just split second stuff, you know, like while I was playing, just looking over and like is watching me. But yeah, it was very important to me. I had a lot of my friends at that time from high school that came and saw me. My little brother came and saw me play for the first time. I had my girlfriend, which
PJ,
is the mother of my
PJ.
first daughter. She was there. It was just awesome. We were like the only like pure metal act there. Everybody else was hardcore.
That's right.
I, I think we did
Hello?
CBG only once.
You think you did CBGB's only once-ish?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did that. We did it one time. I remember. But very proud to say I did it. You know that
Yeah,
stage that doesn't exist anymore. You know,
I know.
which is a shame.
I know it is.
I think
It
it's
is.
a high
My,
end.
my camera
High,
froze on this slide.
Can you hear us now, Gerson? Are we
Yeah,
still
yeah,
frozen?
yeah. I got you back. I don't know where I left off at. What was the last
Um,
thing I said?
you were just you were still talking about the Chippewa Club. You said you were the only like pure metal kind of
Yeah.
act.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. So you got it all. That's
yeah,
when I realized everything froze.
yeah. Um, and then Ish was just saying how he thinks you only played CBGBs once.
with
Okay.
me,
Okay.
probably with me. Maybe without me, you know when I left the band, you guys hit that stage. But I think with me, it was only once. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, man, like the Chippewa. Um,
Mm.
a lot of people that didn't get to go. Uh, like my older brother who got me into music, he didn't show up. My mom didn't make it. So a lot of people I was hoping to be at that show, but it just didn't happen. But they got to catch other shows.
I
And then
see.
What's it?
yeah, the
What's
Limelight.
there now?
Huh?
Like what's there now? What's at the
I
Chippewa?
do not know. I do not know.
I know the Chippewa Club itself is still there. I think they still meet in the same in
I
the
hope
same
so.
building. I mean, it probably looks very different now
I
than it
hope so.
did, but I think it's the same address that's listed on the flyer. So yeah.
I was
Yeah.
also mentioning that my biggest contribution to the band, other than my nearly daily sacrifice of 2 hour rides and going and coming back, was acquiring that slot at the Limelight show we performed and opened up for Nuclear Assault. That's our biggest claim to fame. And how that happened was, apart from being a skateboard metalhead and wanted to be an aspiring musician, I was also an action comic books and action figure toy collector and geek.
Oh, okay, sure.
So there was this comic book store, a small whole comic book store in a hole in the wall on 187th in between Hoffman and the next street over, I think Lorillard. And these two cousins, I think they were Italians. One name was Pat, and I can't remember his other cousin name, but Pat was a big guy. I mean, he was muscles. And then he told me when I was going there for a while, they would also hook me up. I would spend like $50. They would give me like $65 worth of comics. And I was like, what do you guys do besides this comic book stuff? And Pat's like, or his cousin was going to school, and Pat was like, I'm one of the security guards there, and the supervisor at um the Limelight. And I was like, what? Am I hearing this right? I said, the Limelight, like the metal church in Manhattan? He's like, yeah. I was like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. And then I was like, oh shoot, I just caught a cramp. Oh my God. So I was like, I'm in a band. And I was like, I don't expect anything to come out of this, but can I pass you my demo so you can at least listen to it and see if we're close within that caliber of playing at that club? And he's like, sure, man, bring it by. So I came, fresh new demo, which is the from his mind demo. I gave it to him, and he's like, I'll get back to you in about a couple of days. The very next day, he called me. He's like, dude, I wouldn't believe this was you if I didn't see your picture and your name on the cover. He's like, I'll get back to you tomorrow. He went and he took it to the guy who does the bookings at the Limelight, and then he called us a couple of days later. He's like, "What are you doing on this day?" I said, "I don't know. Let me speak to Ivan and the guys." And then I was like, "Nothing." And he goes, "Well, we're gonna give you a shot. Come with your A game, and you're gonna be opening for Nuclear Assault." And I
Wow.
was like, "No way, no freaking way." It was, I didn't believe it until I got there. And then even when I got there, I was godsmacked that I was in that place bringing my drum set in there, and I could see the Nuclear Assault banner, which I have a picture of that, right? It's cloudy.
Oh, yep, I see it. Wow,
That
that's
that's us on the stage.
that's
No, that's
amazing.
them on the stage.
Them on the
That's them on the
stage.
stage. Yeah, but this is me on the drum set when we were doing our sets.
Wow.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, man. So it's like it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me or to us. And I think after that point, I wasn't sure, and I wanted to ask Ivan about it, the guitarist. But a little while after that, Ish wasn't with us at the time. We
Mm.
were just a three piece.
Okay.
But Ish did come to the show, and he was very
Yeah,
proud of us,
yeah, I did. Yeah.
yeah, and happy for us as well. But then shortly after that, Ivan decided to call it quits, to hang it up.
I
And
see.
yeah, and I don't know if it was he was giving me the reasons why, but it was like Charlie Brown to me. Like I was sitting there listening to him, and I can hear want because my mind was still trying to process what he was telling me. And I don't know, maybe if he expected something to happen after that, maybe get approached by the manager of Nuclear Assault and get invited to do other shows with them or something. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I do not know, but it was
That
very
good.
impressive.
But he was that good.
Yeah,
Ivan's a great guitar player. He
yeah.
is.
Wow.
And it was crushing for me when he decided to leave. And I just looked at Caesar, his brother, like, what are we going to do? He's like, well, we could either fold or we can try to keep going. And we had another guy too that joined us for a while. His name was Eric. I can't remember his last name, but he had red long hair and he was a second guitarist. So I want to give a shout out to him as well. He was another Queens boy. He did a couple of shows with us as well. And he was a really good player too.
How long was he with the band? How long?
Man, I would say less than a year. And
Okay.
maybe if I'm wrong, maybe these guys could chime in. But these are the guys now that I grew up with skateboarding. That's the White Boy James,
Oh yeah.
Hector. That's me there. I was on leave when I was in the military, and that's Louis Cologne. So we're still
Wow.
friends to this day. I love them. They're like my brothers. You know what I'm saying? But our generation is like one of the last generations to really have true friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That you can call anytime and pick
That's
up where you left off conversating.
that's
Wow.
kind of true, right?
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
This
I
is
know.
a block party at 110. And right here, Snake, Rich Moderano, who's my roadie, is standing behind me. And this is one of the members of Junkyard Frog, which was
Uh,
yeah, like a project band with Ivan and Caesar's older brother, who played the
Mm. Another
guitar, and
another fine
Caesar
musician.
played the drums.
Yeah,
wow.
Frank Lopez, another fine musician. Yeah.
Yeah. Caesar
Um,
would use my drum set for those shows. We
Oh,
would we
really?
would book together.
Really? How's Caesar on drums?
Hmm.
I never got to hear him on drums. Was
Yeah.
he okay? He was good.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah. He filled the role.
Yeah, he's yeah.
wow.
He wasn't better than me.
Now, Ish, do you want to talk some about your decision to move on to other things?
You know, yeah, I wanted to try maybe acoustic music and
Yeah,
vocals, a different way of writing, you know? Just a different way of writing. I wanted to calm down because it was when I was singing up there and seeing all those people moshing and stuff, it got to me. My anxiety levels went up the roof,
yeah, sure.
through the roof. So I took it down a couple of notches with Hallucination Station with the great Manny Akendo. Wonderful. He was in
Incredible.
another band called Electro Fetus. You might have heard. Yeah.
I definitely recognize his name. I
With
don't know if
Micah,
other people
Micah
have mentioned him before. But yeah, yeah. I mean,
Garvin. That's what I did. I did that with Manny for a couple of years, and then I just started writing songs by myself as a solo artist. And that's what I am. I guess that's what I am now.
I
You know.
see. I see. Yeah. It's mostly acoustic that you stick with these days?
No, no, no.
Okay.
Rock,
Oh, okay, 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 okay. I
big
see.
Telecaster
I
usually.
see.
But and I'm doing music now. I have something coming out on Capitane Records at the end of this year. My music, my songs. You know, something a different side of Warcraft.
Okay, okay. And is it coming out under your name, or do you have
Yeah,
like
my name.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. I was gonna ask if you had like a stage
I'm
name
on
or anything like that.
Spotify. I'm on Spotify and all that. You know,
Wow.
it's different. Maybe it's not for everyone, but it's there's some metal in there.
Yeah, 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 sure. That's incredible. That's
Mhm.
incredible.
I would like to take a moment really quick just to put a face to the names of Caesar and Ivan Lopez and the
Yeah.
guys from Queens,
Yes.
my brothers. So here's Ivan. This is in their basement.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I got him that guitar, that BC Rich guitar.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you be behind his leg, you're gonna see there's like an amp. I built that that little amp. And this is Caesar.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow, that's incredible you have these photos, Gerson.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get them on CD or something, and either
Send them to
send you
me.
the originals.
Yeah. Well, send me copies if you can, please.
Yeah, yeah, I will. I will. Yeah, man.
Wow.
This is what I can gather really quick. This is when Ish was with us. This is at
Ooh.
the Underworld in
Wow.
the city. Uh,
Okay, wow, look at that.
at Hammerheads.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Ivan and Caesar had a dog named Lucky, and that little dude will always piss on my bass drum.
That's funny. Now,
And he bit my lip.
oh, he bit your lip. Oh my
Yeah, I went
God.
to give him a hug, and he's just there, and the guys were like, "I wouldn't do that." I was like, "Oh, come on, he's seen me long enough." And I was like, oh, okay, we're done. No more love.
That's funny. Now, one thing that I'm curious to know more about, I know
Mhm.
you mentioned the Kilowatts, Rampage, like a couple other bands that came out of the Bronx, like, metalhead scene. But did you ever have any run-ins or like play together with like some of the metal bands, like I guess in the area around like Pelham Bay or from Lehman High School, like Requiem or a couple of the Demolition Hammer
Mm.
guys came out from that area. Did you all ever encounter them at all?
Unfortunately, no, unfortunately not. Only at the Chippewa is where we kind of cross paths and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And
Um,
I mean, it was they would have been on a, we probably would have been on the same bill with them if we were doing more shows in the Bronx, but I wasn't, he say, club or venue savvy as far as the Bronx.
yeah,
Um, I didn't know about the Blue Frog till after, and some of these other places.
I
Um,
went to a battle of the bands at Lehman High School back
oh, okay.
probably in
I
'89.
remember, yeah, they used to have that. I remember hearing about
Bands, yeah,
that.
they were great. I don't know why these guys didn't get signed on labels because what I saw back in '89, they were just as good as the big ones, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you remember which bands there were at 89-ish?
Mm, I don't remember their names, but I was impressed. You know, I was
Yeah,
impressed.
yeah, 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 yeah. I think Requiem might have been there in 89, but it
Mhm.
might have been 90 or 91. But yeah, I listened to their demo now and I'm that same way. Like, wow, they're really, really talented. But out of all the bands that make it, there's so many talented bands
Mm,
that
that
didn't
slipped through the
make it.
cracks.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep, yep. Um, and unique bands. And I think Warcraft was one of those bands, very talented, very unique. Um,
Thank you.
but uh
Yeah, thank
um,
you.
but yeah, yeah, didn't have the connections or, right
Yeah,
time, right place kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. It just wasn't, the stars didn't line up, and who knows? Maybe if we would have made it that far, we could have been another story, a tragic story, or dying in a plane crash, or tour
Voting.
bus incident, or hooked on drugs, or whatever. You know how
That's
that
right.
life it can get that crazy
Yep.
and whatever whatnot. You hear about it with the greats. I want to make another connection really quick. So one of the guys I grew up skating with, his name was Pablo, who was the younger brother of what's his name? Oh my God, Louis, who worked at Malali Skate Park. Hello?
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
Right
sure.
by Yankee Stadium, right?
Hello?
Yep, by Yankee Stadium. That's right. Can you hear us, Gerson?
Yeah, we were supposed to do a show. We were supposed to book for that show, and play, but it never came to fruition. But a lot of times I spent my summers there too because as a kid growing up, my grandmother lived in the Patterson Projects on the
Oh,
ninth,
okay.
yeah, on the ninth floor, and from there, and I remember in the summers we used to go to the roof. We used to kick the door open, go to the roof, so we can watch the fireworks out of Yankee Stadium.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow.
And
Um,
so when I wasn't there, my grandmother's, I had my skateboard and I would go with Hector Lewis and all these guys who skated with me, and we would go to Malali Park and skate there. It started out as a BMX bike thing, and then sometimes there will be cliques. You have your BMX bikers, your skaters, and then your what we call the fruit boots, the rollerblades, the inline skates.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And we kind of clash at times. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Did either of you go to those shows at Malali Park, the skate
No,
place?
yeah, I did see the videos of them sick of it all, and it was really cool. And I remember seeing, I think,
Really sick
the
of it all
singer. I
too.
can't remember his name. I think he was from District 9.
Oh, Mike.
Mike, yes, he was on the
Mm.
side of the stage. Mike was at our show at Bond Street. Him and his crew at the Bond Street show. That
Really,
show was brutal because
really,
somebody stage dived. One of our friends stage dive, fell and got knocked out. We had to stop our set.
Wow. Wow.
We had to
Wow.
stop our set. Thank
Um,
God he didn't get killed or anything like that. It was one of our boys, but that was a brutal pit because you had a lot of hardcore dudes there. Mike's crew was there. My boys from the Bronx were there, and that time my boys really got to see Warcraft at their full potential, at their best, and I was very proud of that moment too. Because when I got to the block a couple of days later, they had nothing but love for me and props, and Ivan and Caesar had their respect. We weren't hardcore like all the other bands, but we had their respect for the most part. They knew what we were all about. We were serious
Original,
about ours.
original stuff, you know.
Yeah, I know it's incredible. And yeah, a bunch of Bronx guys used to hang out at Bond Street. I mean, Mike's crew, but also the Muttley who went on to become the bassist for Billy Club Sandwich. I think he worked the door there for a while or something like that. I forget. But yeah, a lot of connection to Bond Street, and District 9 played there as Close Call before they became District 9. I think maybe as District 9 too. So that venue saw a lot of action from the Bronx, but for sure.
Yeah,
But
I wasn't a part of that genre, but I'm very proud of how those guys they did their thing in that genre as far as the hardcore stuff, and they have nothing but mass respect and love from me as far as I'm concerned. Because we all came from the same area, and we all trying to do our thing. My
Music
purpose
is just
was,
music. Music is music. Music is just
yes, yeah,
music.
my purpose was just to get out of the Bronx, to
yep,
leave that life, because I figured if I ever plan to settle down and become a married man, if I didn't make it, that was a place I didn't want my kids to grow up in, because the way I grew up,
yeah,
the way a lot of us grew up. So, right now I'm in North Carolina, I'm a 10-year Army veteran, and it paid off because my kids, most of them went to college. I
Mm.
didn't
awesome.
have that. I didn't have that opportunity because I didn't have no one kicking me in the butt. Say, hey, man, I dropped
Mm.
out of high school.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
at the 11th grade, I dropped out of high school. I left Roosevelt. My friends thought I was crazy. I was like, yeah. I was like, I was so sure. I was so, how you say, I had so much faith and me being in that band that we were going to do something to go somewhere
Yeah,
until
yeah,
we started dropping off like flies.
yeah. Wow. Now, Gerson,
Yeah.
Ish has talked some about what he's up to musically right now. What about you? Are you up to anything musically these days?
Oh, no. To be honest, I have not been a part of the music scene, but I do find time once in a while to get on my electronic drum set just to keep the
Nice,
rust off.
nice.
And my sons get on it there. So I always show my kids know about what I did as far as music. So I was trying to keep like instruments around the house uh for my boys to stay engaged, and because how they say music helps develop the mind and stuff like
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, my
That's
son
awesome.
he was playing tuba, believe it or not, tuba in high school, and my youngest plays the trumpet,
Okay, okay.
and he's
Wow.
really good. Yeah.
That's great. Now, I have a final question that
Mhm.
I always ask at the end of all of these, but before I ask that question, do either of you want to add anything that we haven't had the chance to talk about yet?
No, not from me. No, not really. Just I love those guys, and I'm glad it happened because it's yeah, I could never get it back, and I'm just glad God gave that to me. That moment in time, yeah.
Yeah.
And now a
Yeah.
lifelong friend, and yeah, just every one of those guys have made something for themselves, and I'm sure we still have that passion for music, no matter what.
Oh yeah, I still got tunes that I keep in my car, whether it's most recent. Like now, I listen to I was into Divine Heresy for a while, even though I was during the MySpace era, but I love their drummer. I listen to a lot of bands like, eesh, I can't even name anything right now. I'm like brain dead because I don't know, maybe I haven't had my coffee yet.
Um, well, great. Well, so the final question I have for you both is, uh, do you think there's a particular like sound or style or attitude that comes with like Bronx heavy music?
Oh,
Um,
for
and
sure.
and if you think there is, then how would you describe it?
Um, to me, I'm gonna say opening up. Hey, we're here. This is what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? You're either gonna love us or you're gonna hate us.
Hmm.
But This is what it is. You know, I would say it's in your face. And whether the lyrics are about government corruption, religion, you know, whatever, saving the planet, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have a message. We
Yeah.
have a message that we want to put out.
Mm. The Bronx kids have a message.
That's right. And if anyone who sees these interviews or been around, like if they were younger than us and they were at our shows, you know, I hope, you know, were inspired to do stuff like that because believe it or not, I think involved in the music scene kept a lot of us alive, kept a
Yep.
lot of us progressively engaged in something positive.
Yes, that's right. That's true. For me, that
And it saved a lot of, I believe it saved a lot of us youth back then because, man, I did dabble and do experiment with some stuff that you know, I should have not touched, and that's probably why my memory's not so good. But yeah, man, like, you know, don't give up if you still hunt, you know, out there. Even the guys that are playing now that went to high school with me, keep at it, because maybe this
now
could be
what's your age?
yeah, this could be a starting point right now. This, you know, who knows if this can go viral, this historical thing event, and I'm just glad that each of us are given the opportunity to leave our legacy.
Yeah,
You know, like
music
for
is a beautiful
generations.
thing.
Yes, yes, it's a definitely how you say a universal I say component for communication throughout everything. Like I'm into that Indian metal now.
Mm.
Uh, you know, like different countries. You'd be surprised at what's out there. For a while, y'all gonna laugh, but I was even listening to baby metal for a while when I was in Okinawa, Japan.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
was out there checking out the music scene out there, the heavy metal scene. These guys, there's so many talented musicians out there that are not signed, and it's insane. It's
Mm.
insane. And when they go in on anything, and not just metal, but even in rap, I'm on the XG train, believe it or
Yep.
not. I'm on that thing. I'm into K-pop. You know, this is music. I love music. You know, in general. And my wife finds it weird because she's like, "Why are you looking at or listening to those Japanese girls?" And I was like, "They have music. You know,
Yep.
that the music thing. She'll never understand that."
Yeah.
But man, people need to open up their minds, open up their ears, and recognize how music really transcends everything. There's nothing that music cannot get through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ish, what about for you?
It's how he says what Gerson has said about music, and I just hope there are more younger people that are playing, you know, in their basements, in their apartments, in their rooms, in the Bronx, and I hope guitar continues to be a passion, you know, and writing
Yeah.
and composing on guitars is. I hope that will always stay relevant. You know?
Yeah, and guys from our era, get your kids off them damn phones, man. Those things are like
Get your kids
cancer.
off those phones.
Yeah,
That's right.
get them an instrument or something, a freaking kazoo. Get them a kazoo or something. Start off with that. Get them that Australian instrument. Wah, 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 wah. Get them one of those things or something. A didgeridoo, whatever that's called.
That's
Man,
right.
get them
That's right.
engaged, man. Because
That's right.
it's we're losing our youth. We're losing the next two generations after ours to this poison. You know what I'm saying? It's a double-edged sword. It is useful, this technology and all these platforms, but too much of anything, no matter how good it is a bad thing.
That's
I just
right.
want to stress that. Get these kids engaged. You
That's
never
right.
know what kind of talent you're going to kick up, knocking off the dust on their heads with their damn devices.
That's right. Absolutely. 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 Well, I think all of that is very well said. Any final comments from either of you before we end for today?
You know, just much love to the Warcraft family. For me, Ivan Lopez and Gerson Ortiz, Cesar Lopez, Frank Lopez. You know, the whole
Chris
crew.
Marzana, the whole 110 crew, the Yips crew, you name it.
Yeah. Silvestro and Charlie
Yeah,
Cudd and you know Fatal Vision, all those guys.
yeah.
Just you know, much love to each and every one of you. Because
It was a privilege and an honor to be a part of the experience of even being in the same club or venue, or just even meet, shake hand one time, have a beer, whatever we did back then.
yeah,
I even
Hey.
got jumped at a hardcore club one time.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and I think it was at the Underworld. Yeah, I got jumped. I jumped in the pit, and I was there to see my at the time girlfriend's best friend's brother play. He was a drummer. I forgot what was the band, and I jumped. I was in the pit. I was moshing, doing my thing, and then someone just sucker punched me from the side, and he dipped behind these two dudes. So I saw where he went. I said, "Oh yeah." I parted them. I kicked the shit out of him, and that's when it was on. We got into it. It wound up. It was like
Shit,
you ever
where the
seen
fuck
how when
did I die?
Snoopy and they all fight and there's like a dust cloud? There was no dust, but there was a ball of people fighting up the stairs and until it went outside into the streets. And I just remember I had the guy that hit me first and I was pounding on him while everybody else was trying to get me off and then hitting me from behind. Oh my God, it was insane.
Mm.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
insane.
Wow.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
because you were a metalhead or for just other reasons you think?
I think it was because it could have been that. And it could have been the fact that since I was not a familiar face within that hardcore crowd,
Yeah.
and I was someone that could be easily identified as a target because I was not known by everybody.
Yeah.
There were some people that were there at that show, and I'm not gonna mention names. That I remember seeing them. I remember seeing them uh, uh, clearly, and I expected them to have my back and jump in, and they didn't. And when they
Mm,
see this, I'm not mentioning names because you know what? That was then, and I don't know, maybe it was out of fear because apparently I heard someone pull out a gun. I don't know how true that was, but George Vasquez tried to help me out. He tried to
yeah.
get dudes off of me. That I do remember. My girlfriend was there. She at the time she tried to help me out and get dudes off of me. She wound up calling her brother, who was in the Bronx, who happened to come down in 15 minutes. I don't know how. He jumped out with a bat. But yeah, um, I saw a lot of familiar faces that I saw either from high school or with other bands that I expected to have jumped in and helped me out, and no one did. So at that point in time, I decided, you know what? I'm not down with this hardcore crowd anymore. And no disrespect to the genre of music, you guys still do what you do and you represent. But that one night maybe had me think another way about friendship.
Sure. Sure. Wow. Wow. Do you remember who was on the bill that night?
Mm. The closest thing I could tell you was what I already had said. It was uh my ex-girlfriend, her best friend name was Tracy, and she had a brother that played the drummer. He was I think he lived in going towards the Westchester somewhere around there.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah,
see.
I can't remember, yeah. He
No,
was a
that's
really
fine.
good drummer. He was a really good drummer, very technical.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, well, yeah. Yeah, I know that kind of stuff happened a lot, right?
Yeah,
But
I see that happen in our shows,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Testosterone.
That's right. That's right. But thank you both so much
Mhm.
for sharing your
Thank you,
stories
Steven.
and the story of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
appreciate you all being a part of this. I'm gonna turn the recording off now.
Okay, little add-on, guys. If there's anyone out there that I did not mention, trust me and believe me, and I say this wholeheartedly, I did not mean to forget about you if I didn't mention your name. But at the last second, when he said kilowatts after the recording was turned off, Loki came to mind. Loki, brother, I love you. I know you're out there somewhere overseas, in another country. I think it's Thailand. But me and him used to get down and jam. We used to hang out. He used to always influence me and try to get into punk and stuff like that. He would play bass, man. It was just Loki's a really good dude, man. Really good dude, man. I love you, brother. I mean, and anybody else I forgot, I love you. You can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, the Mad Scientist G. That's my name on Instagram. Or just search my name up, Gerson Ortiz. So, you guys, God bless. Be safe.